Hey everybody, Eric coming at you today from Bloat Games. Today I wanted to talk to you about the Hero's Journey 2nd Edition by James M. Spahn for Barrel Rider Games. This book, I'm really falling in love with this game, and that's why I wanted to get some information out there. In fact, I might be doing a deep dive series into this. This game is, I would say, unequivocally a love letter to Lord of the Rings. But also it goes further than that because there's a lot of references. In fact, the author James Spahn reference or lists some references as like The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, the Grimm Brothers fairy tale, Willow, The Princess Bride, The Neverending Story, so legend. So it's not your traditional D&D full of darkness and despair. In fact, I would say even when it comes to Lord of the Rings, it's more of the tone of The Hobbit than it is the Lord of the Rings. But it's a really cool OSR game. It's the 2nd edition, and I think what it's done is the first edition was very much a Dungeons and Dragons type style game, and this has pulled it more into its own element. So more of a standalone type game than Dungeons and Dragons. You'll definitely, if you look in here, you can see where the Dungeons and Dragons influence and rules come from, but you won't see a lot of the kind of standard OSR tropes. This has definitely pulled its weight, or James has done a great job in making this its own thing. One of the first things you'll notice system-wise when you get in there is that the attributes are changed up some. The attributes are might, finesse, resolve, insight, bearing, and will. All right. So might replaces your strength. Finesse replaces dexterity. Resolve is going to replace kind of a combination between constitution and wisdom. Insight is your intelligence. Bearing is your charisma / calmliness. And will is kind of like a luck or fate type of mechanic that you can use your modifier to influence rolls during the course of an adventure. The modifiers for attributes range from a -2 to a +2, with 7 through 14 being no bonus. So you got that going, or it's got that going for it. There's not like a huge +6, +7, anything like that. Just like with the first edition of the Hero's Journey, it comes with professions, and professions are what you do before you become an adventurer. All right. Then lineages come into play in this, and lineage kind of replaces race, and playable. Your lineages are changeling, dwarf, half-elf, halfling, and human. And those set what you roll. So for your attributes, it's not just 3d6 straight down the row. Each lineage has its own breakout of what to roll, and level limits as far as what kind of archetype you're going to be, because archetypes replace class. And in the archetypes, there's 8 archetypes. That's bard, burglar, knight, ranger, swordsman, warrior, wizard, and Yeoman. And Yeoman is kind of like a townsfolk or a gardener or just a regular person who wasn't necessarily supposed to be a hero, but who has been swept up and is now on a journey and is a hero. So a couple other things I note. For encumbrance, there is a rule for encumbrance in this game, but it's very much streamlined. Basically, you can carry a number of points equal to your might score. All right. Then gaining XP. This game is not a game about killing monsters. All right. So if that's what you're looking for, just know that this isn't that game. This is a game about going on adventures and having quests. It's not about killing monsters and getting loot. So there's different ways to gain XP in this game. So like if you do good role playing, if you play your lineage and your archetype correctly, if you make everybody at the table laugh, there's a whole list of stuff. I really love that. It takes the pressure off of or the focus off of being just let's go kill as many things as we can and get as much stuff as we can. All right, because gold also doesn't have a high gaming value in the game. It's part of it, and it's something you can use to either help people or to buy items, but it's not something that your goal is not to become the richest in the land. Your goal is to do something heroic and something good. All right, this has got a great example of play in there. The magic system is completely reworked from what you are familiar with Dungeons and Dragons. In fact, I won't even touch on it here because this video is already getting a little long. But probably in one of the upcoming videos, I'll probably spend a whole video on it. James does a really good job of overhauling a very, I don't want to say worn out or played out part of Dungeons and Dragons. But it's something that's needed updating that just kind of gets added into a lot of retro clones. There's a cool rule about blessed and blighted lands. So if you're going through a land that's blessed and you're an inherently good character who's doing good things, you may get advantage on rolls. Whereas if you're going through a land that's blighted and you're an inherently bad character, you may get disadvantage on rolls. A whole bunch of stuff along those lines that takes us out of being just your standard, Dungeons and Dragons retro clone, and making it its own game. Again, I highly recommend this one. You're probably gonna hear me talking more about it. I'm a huge fan of James M. Spahn. As you know, probably from seeing all the reviews I've done, I really love this man's work. But this is by far and away, my favorite game that he's put out so far. So I'm Eric from Bloat Games. This has been me talking about the Hero's Journey 2nd edition. Pick it up. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.